Hey guys, this is AB and welcome back to AB Tech Tips. Okay, so today we'll be talking about the phone that has been so hyped up, and it is something that a lot of people in India have actually been looking forward to, and that is none other than the ROG Phone 3. Before we talk about other stuff, let's just run through these specs real quick, and then we'll talk about stuff like, is this really all that worth it, and should you consider this over something that is considered to be a normal phone? Okay, so to start things off, this particular phone, as pretty much any other flagship that's going to be released after this point in 2020, packs the Snapdragon 865 plus processor paired with the Adreno 650. So rest assured, as you all know, this is targeted towards gamers. It's gonna pretty much breeze through anything and everything that you can throw at it. And with the 865 plus, it is pretty much gonna be excelling at multitasking. It's gonna be a great phone overall in terms of just raw performance. So now let's move on to something that actually, has been kind of a downfall for the ROG series, and that is the camera. ROG Phone 1 and Phone 2 had pretty average-ish cameras, and maybe that's where Asus decided to cut its corners in order to make sure that it can appeal to more gamers and not just people who want to get it and use it as a, just a daily driver. So this ROG Phone 3 just aims to, improve that. And on that note, this phone actually includes the Sony IMX686 64 megapixel sensor, and at its rear, which is the primary lens. It also includes a 13 megapixel wide angle lens and also a 5 megapixel macro lens. And this particular setup is capable of recording up to 4K resolution. And the front facing camera is a 24 megapixel camera, which supports a maximum resolution of up to a 1080p video resolution. Okay, so that's about it for cameras. And now let's talk about other things that actually make it a gaming phone. To start things off, this has a really beautiful display. It comes with a maximum refresh rate of 144 Hz. This means that every second, this phone is capable of refreshing its screen 144 times. That's insane. If you're going from a conventional screen that's 60 Hz and then to 144 Hz, the difference is actually huge. It is going to blow your mind, and once you go with the higher refresh rate display, you really don't feel like going back to a conventional 60 Hz screen, and that's just a fact of it. And Asus is also claiming that this particular display on the ROG Phone 3 is capable of achieving a response time of 1 millisecond. I really won't be getting into all that much about what 1 millisecond response time means. In layman's terms, though, it just means that there is no real visible blur when you're moving around, when an enemy is moving around. There's no real visible blur as such, and that does make a huge impact while you're actually gaming. Okay, so let's talk about something else, that is the battery. So the battery is a huge mammoth 6000 milliamp hour battery, and obviously the capacity is fairly huge, and it's going to take a long time to actually completely charge. So there is that. But if you just want to use it such that it lasts you an entire day, then you just don't really have to charge it until it reaches 100%. Even with around 50% and conventional conservative use, it's gonna last you a pretty long time. Mostly will be getting you through the day anyway. Okay, so on the battery side of things, this includes a 30-watt fast charger, Type C of course. And one thing that I do appreciate it is that the charging port underneath the phone on the bottom part is actually off-centered. What this basically means that if you're gaming and holding the device, the charging port is not really going to be an issue. It will actually just run right down, and then it really won't be constricting your usage of the phone and how you hold it. So that is a small plus point, but it's still there. Okay, so now let's talk about the connectivity. This actually includes 5G, which is pretty much not really alive in India right now. 4G, LTE, Bluetooth 5.1, Wi-Fi 6 even. And unfortunately, there is no headphone jack, but that is pretty much expected out of a flagship at this day and time. So I guess that's that. The ROG Phone 3 also includes dual front. The ROG Phone 3 also includes dual front-facing speakers powered by the ROG Game FX. It's just a fancy name. But as you can actually see, if you have the device, the bass is much better sounding on the ROG Phone 3 compared to other flagships such as the OnePlus 8 Pro or the Samsung Galaxy S20, the entire series that is. That's about it for the specs side of this phone. Now let's talk about other tangibles and see if a gaming phone is actually all that worth it in today's time. And in my opinion, a gaming phone does not really make sense. Okay, so now let's see one of the first things that actually make it, not all that worth it, and that is the air triggers. Now, as you guys can see, the air triggers can be mapped to any side of your screen. At any point you want it, it'll do the action that you define the air triggers to do, and that's pretty much it. But if you're actually serious about competitively playing mobile games, those air triggers are not going to be helping you all that much. First thing is that if you're into mobile games and are playing competitively, there are going to be LAN events, and at these LAN events you have to play with the device that they give you. So if you go ahead there and ask them to provide you with an ROG Phone 3, it might not be the case that Asus is the company that is sponsoring that particular event. And without air triggers, you're going to have to adapt to a claw design where your fingers are not actually lying on the border of the phone but actually on the screen itself. It is seemingly not that noticeable, but it does make an impact when you're actually playing the game from one device to other. And that is something that's going to impact your performance at LAN events, which is obviously a lot bigger of a deal as compared to just playing, casually. That's just how it is. Now let's talk about one more thing, and that is Android versus iOS. Now you see, the thing is, there are a lot fewer iOS devices released throughout the entire lifetime of when iOS came to be, and that makes it that much more easier for game developers to optimize their game for iOS devices. But on Android side of things, even within one company, there are multiple, devices. One is aimed at budget oriented people, one's at mid-range, one at high-end, one at higher premium, whatever range it is, about 1 lakh, etc. And not just this, these are just from brands that are well known. There are also multiple companies that release Android phones that are fakes, etc. And Android being open licensed, it just makes it so much harder for developers to optimize the game for each and every device that exists. And as a human being, as a programmer, it's just impossible for any person to actually sit around and optimize it for every Android device that exists. That's just not easy, and neither is anyone actually going to take the time out of their life and do that. So that's what makes iOS better overall in terms of gaming on phones, especially with PUBG and Call of Duty. And Call of Duty is not as demanding, but if PUBG Mobile is the primary reason that you're going to look at a phone, at this particular phone rather, then maybe you should incline towards iOS. There is the iPhone XR, and if you are aiming to get the higher end model of the ROG phone, then you also have the iPhone 11. And that brings me to the aspect of price to performance. Well, you see, price to performance in this particular device is actually really competitive. You have the base 12 gig plus 128 gig option at 49,999. And honestly, I do believe that that is enough for about 75% of the people. 8 GB of RAM is really a lot inside a laptop too, and inside a phone is just that much better. There's no real need for you to upgrade to the 12 gigs until and unless you also need that extra 128 gigs to make up a total of 256 gigs of UFS 3.1 storage. And there is a debate between whether you should go for this or an iPhone. And in my honest opinion, iPhone just takes the cake if you're looking at something purely for gaming. And the software itself is a little bit better because of how much the ROG Phone 3 tries to, cater to gamers with hard, static, not so fluid experience in terms of software. The camera is going to be better in the iPhone. It's better optimized, and the games are obviously going to be running smoother there. So to conclude, I'd just like to say that if it is purely gaming that you're looking for and you are hell-bent on getting this phone, you should rather get the iPhone 10R and make do with that. Yes, it doesn't have a 140 hertz screen, but most of these games, they're not really equipped to run at a refresh rate higher than 90 hertz. So it's really not that big of a difference. And if you consider the fact that it is also going to run smoother on iOS and the iPhones, it just makes complete sense, because even if this does have a high refresh rate screen, it is not going to be able to take advantage of that screen if the game itself is not all that well optimized for Android. And I guess that's my 2 cents on the Asus ROG Phone 3. If there are other things that I might have missed out and you think that does make a difference, please let me know down in the comment section below. And that being said, I guess that's about it for this particular video. If you liked it, please do hit the like button and also subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have any friend that is looking to get the ROG Phone 3 that you think might actually be swayed over to iPhone side of things, regardless of how much of an Android person he is. Trust me, I am an Android person. I do believe that vanilla Android, or rather the Oxygen OS, software is the best software on a phone right now. That does not mean that for gaming, the ROG Phone 3 is pretty much the way to go. I personally do not agree with that whatsoever. So that being said, I just like to end this video. I hope to see you guys in the next video. And yes, that's about it. Have great fun and feel great. Joy, guys.